Hi, today is March 18th, 2023, and here are my poems for the day. The first one is poem number 456 for the year, Last Night and Tomorrow. Last night was a lot of fun. I saw old friends and saw some brilliant performances, and after I was done, people said some very nice things to me. Waiting to perform felt good, performing felt good, and having performed felt good. But that was last night, and this is tomorrow. And last night I told myself, maybe I'll do laundry tomorrow. So maybe I will do some laundry, unless I do it tomorrow. Poem number 457, The Mystery of Lewis Thomas. It is highly unlikely that Lewis Thomas is a real and actual person. He posted the following comment on one of my posts. Smiles, I must say, your posts are, interesting and lovely, but we are not friends on Facebook. I tried sending you a friend request, but it did not go through. Kindly send me a request if it's okay with you. Thanks. It is possible that Lewis Thomas sent me a friend request. If he had, I would have checked to see if we have any friends in common. We don't. And then I would have looked at his profile and seen that he has posted once, 5 months ago, and I would have deleted the request. But he wouldn't have known that I deleted it. If he had written, I sent you a friend request, but you didn't respond, then his comment would be more believable. Instead, he says his request didn't go through. I think if this had actually happened, it would have been because he is fake. And if this didn't actually happen, he is lying. So I'm going to go with he's a liar and a fake. The mystery of Lewis Thomas is not that much of a mystery, but it is a mystery. And I just thought of something that makes it more mysterious. Poem number 458, Morning Fog. I'm going to admit to some brain fog this morning. I was up an hour and a half before my alarm was set for, and I was up an hour and a half before I started writing. It may have been a couple of years since I waited that long to write, and the writing often clears my head and helps me focus. This is why it took me almost 2 poems to spot a coincidence that was staring me in the face. I still feel a little foggy. I didn't get enough sleep last night. I'm unhappy with my poem so far, and I don't think much of the one that's coming next, but I think it needs to come out anyway. Poem number 459, Adding to the Mystery. A few days ago, I listened to a bit of a podcast while biking. Note, I was listening to a podcast while riding on the bike path along the Hudson, not in the street. And the podcast interviewee mentioned the work of Lynn Margulis. And I was like, I know Lynn Margulis. I have had one of her books for years. In fact, I think I just unpacked it and put it on the shelf. And when I got home, there it was on the shelf. And I took it down. And the next day, I began to read Microcosmos, 4 Billion Years of Microbial Evolution by Lynn Margulis and Dorian Sagan. It's a book I loved when I first read it in the early 90s. I started by reading the introduction, and I hadn't remembered that the author of The Lives of a Cell wrote the introduction. The Lives of a Cell is another book I have read and love very much. But here's the thing that took me a while to remember this morning. The author of The Lives of the Cell, who wrote the introduction to the book that is sitting right there on the same coffee table that the laptop that I am typing these words on, that author's name, if you don't already know, is Lewis Thomas. I am trying to remember if I mentioned that name to anyone over the phone in the past few days, but I'm almost certain that I haven't. If I had, then this incident of this Lewis Thomas guy who requested that I friend request him would seem a lot more sinister. I think it's just an odd coincidence, but it does add to the mystery of Lewis Thomas. Poem number 460, Turnabout. I could send this alleged Lewis Thomas a message through Facebook. Maybe fuck with his alleged head. He's already fucked with mine a bit. Turnabout is fair play, they say, but what if he never goes away? I could block him, but he could come back with a different name. Oh shit, what if he comes back as Lynn Margulis, or Stan Brakhage, or David Graeber, or who knows who? Holy motherfucking fuck. I am so pissed off. Sorry to cut this poem short, but see next poem. Poem number 461, Scott. I would say Great Scott, but I am kind of pissed off at myself. I kind of feel like I wasted your time and maybe even mine. Because in the last poem, I was going to look at the alleged Lewis Thomas's Facebook page again to see where he lives so that I could say he allegedly lives all the way in Dallas, Texas, so I don't have much to fear from him unless he actually allegedly lives across the street. But when I looked, I was like, holy motherfucking fuck, I am so pissed off because the alleged Lewis Thomas's actual name is Lewis Scott. But it gets even worse, and this is so shameful and disgraceful that I can't believe I'm going to tell you. But I actually had his name right originally. I scrolled up and saw that the original title of poem number 457 was The Mystery of Lewis Scott, not Lewis Thomas. Toward the end of number 457, I must have glanced over at Microcosmos and switched the name of the alleged Lewis Scott to Lewis Thomas in mid-poem. Oh, it's backwards. Can you see it? Lewis Thomas in mid-poem, thus initiating a cascade of pointless and stupid misunderstandings in poems. So this solves the mystery of Lewis Thomas, but it doesn't begin to unravel the far less interesting mystery of Lewis Scott. The last poem of the day is poem number 462, Reconsidered. I actually considered deleting poem number 457 and 459 and number 460 instead of writing poem number 461, but then I reconsidered. Because as I mentioned in poem number 458, I started writing late today, and I have some post-show depression to sit with and nurse and do some laundry, and I have some laundry to do, and maybe I ought to take a nap, and I already feel behind schedule, although I'm actually not. If this is the last poem of the day, and it is, then I'm actually finishing earlier than I have in quite some time. I am sorry if you were hoping for something more substantial. So was I. But there's always tomorrow. Unless, of course, there isn't. All right, thanks very much. That's all I got for today. I really appreciate you. I really, really do. Thank you.